Welcome to another episode of Sex Talk. My name is Ayana, the model, your host, and here today we have Nathan Spiteri.
That's right, yeah.
Nathan Spiteri. We are going to talk about a lot of things today. Of course, it's a sex talk, so we're going to talk about that, his journey through sex, and also his work surrounding certain sexual topics. Trigger warning for sexual assault, might possibly cover that, child abuse. So take care of yourselves if those things trigger you. And we're going to start off with an introduction, short, brief, before we get into questions. So let us know who you are, what you do, and why you're here.
All right, my name is Nathan Spiteri. I'm from Australia. I've been in New York for, 16 years now. So I've been here a while. And what I do, so I initially moved here for acting, so I came here to study acting at HB Studio, did that, won a green card in the lottery, So the plan was to go to LA, but I kind of got stuck in New York and just fell in love with New York and stayed in New York. But a brief introduction, I was abused as a kid. I was raped as a child from 8 years old through to 13. And I guess, we're here to talk about sex and sex talk, so that has given me an interesting relationship with sex and my sexuality and where I am. And, this abuse was very rough and violent and turned into a Stockholm Syndrome type relationship where I felt love for this man through his grooming, through his manipulation, through his lies, him telling me that this is what I wanted, that I loved him and he loved me, that my family hate me, my family don't want to be with me, and, all of that type stuff. He abandoned me at 13 years old, and I say abandoned me because he just disappeared out of my life. So for 2 years I questioned who I was, what I was, where I belong in the world. Am I gay? Am I straight? He told me how special I was. Am I special? And then from about 15 years old, I would ride my bike back in Australia to the next suburb over to where I lived, and it was an industrial part of town. So there were lots of sex clubs, gay cruise lounges and stuff like that. So I would ride my bike there at 15, sneak in, let these men abuse me again and rape me again, and then I would turn around and beat them up and bash them and rob them, and that was my fuck you to the world. That was my way of getting my power back, my way of feeling alive. And that went on for many, many years, and then fell into the world of drugs and violence and sex and, shooting heroin, smoking crack, just selling my body for sex. And finally told someone about my abuse after 25 years. So it started at 8, I didn't tell anyone until I was 32 years old. So the past, 10 years or so has been therapy, group therapy, rehab, AA, all of that type stuff. And me learning about my relationship with this man, learning about my relationship with sex, with partners, with my family, and just embracing who I am, and it's an everyday thing of moving forward and learning and educating myself and evolving and growing with that. So that's me.
It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
To come here and share your story with us. The first question that I ask everyone, which will be a very interesting one, seeing as though, of course, with so many things that happen to you in your sex life, it's a very interesting relationship you have with it. So how would you describe what is your relationship to sex?
It was very complicated. If we go back to the past or a few years back and having sex with men, but having sex with women, and needing the sex with men because I needed it, because I needed to feel that feeling. And, the therapy and, when I get into relationships or when I meet people and they hear about my story or read my memoir, they're like, so are you gay? Are you straight? What are you? I don't label myself for what I am what I am, but for me, all the sex I had with men, and, this is from not including my abuser, but from 15 years onwards, I would have sex with men, but there was never any intimacy. I wouldn't touch you, kiss you, caress you, hold your hand, none of that. I just needed to feel the act. I needed to feel the act because that's all I knew. And that's what made me feel comfortable, and that's what gave me power, and that's what allowed me to feel alive. But sex with women, I wanted to hold you, touch you, caress you, kiss you, all of that stuff. And, you know, I'd be in relationships with women and trying to do it, but because I still hadn't come out about my past and I was still so closed off, I wasn't able to communicate. I wasn't able to be vulnerable. I wasn't able to sit and express to you or talk to you and just say, listen, I've got this going on, I'm feeling this happened to me, I went through this, any of that stuff. So as soon as you would get close, I would put that wall up and push you away. And then run out the door and go and sleep with a man because that's what I needed to do. The first time I had sex with a girl, if I can talk about, just tell you about that. So I think I was 17, in Australia. A girl came over, my parents were away, the whole family were away. She came over, we had sex, obviously, you know, sex for the first time with a girl, it didn't last too long. Okay. Let's just be honest. All you boys out there who say it lasts forever, it doesn't. So yes, we had sex for the first time, and automatically I should think, wow, amazing, I just had sex with a girl, this is amazing, I'm a man now, and this, that, and the other. But as soon as it happened, I felt really guilty, I felt a lot of shame, I hated myself, I didn't deserve that, I didn't deserve to have sex with her. I literally, as soon as she left, not long after, I stayed home, I got really fucking drunk, just got wasted, jumped on my bike, rode my bike to the sex pods and let a man abuse me, because that's what I deserved. I didn't deserve love. I didn't deserve to feel affection. I didn't deserve to feel anything from you. I needed him to abuse me. And that was the first time I had sex with a girl. And a lot of my sex life has been kind of like that until more recent, now that I am understanding of my past, and understanding of my abuse, understanding of my relationship with this man, with women, with men in general, with my family. I have been in just, you know, relationships with women. It didn't work out for some reason or another, but I have been in relationships with women where I just was loyal, I was able to do it, it's what I want, I know it's right.
Feels good.
It feels good. So that's kind of why my sex life and where I'm at with it all is, it's not complicated now because I know who I am and I know what I want. But, you know, it's always there in the back of my head. It's always that, you know, that little person sitting on my shoulder talking. So it's can be challenging sometimes. It can be hard for me to still kind of really open up and express how I feel and what I want. And it's funny because my last girlfriend, she said to me, and this is something I never really put two and two together until she told me, and then I spoke to a friend about it and my therapist. She goes, Nathan, you are always so very quiet during sex. You don't scream, you don't say much, you don't do anything. Yes, you'll talk and you'll, you know, grunt or whatever the fuck you do, but, you know, you're not very vocal. And I'm like, well, that's because, and I didn't realize why. Because when this man abused me, he would always tell me to shut up. He would always tell me to be quiet. He would always, if I say anything, or if I scream, or if I do anything, he would again get violent with me, or put his arm over my mouth, or you know, stuff like that. So my relationship with sex, even healthy sex, is still developing. It's not clear. It's not, you know, a clear kind of picture, if I can say that. There are still things from my past that I bring into my sex now, or that linger and sit there and I don't want to say they haunt me, but they're just still there that I haven't been able to let go of. And that was a big thing because I I didn't really think that I was quiet. I didn't really imagine or know that I was. So for her to say that, and then for me to speak to another friend who's been abused and my therapist, and putting two and two together, that's because, you know, my therapist, my abuser would always tell me to shut up and not say anything and be quiet and put his arm over my mouth or abuse me again or hit me, punch me, whatever. Yeah.
So a couple questions. So you said it used to be complicated and now it's a bit more clear.
Mm-hmm.
Is that clarity because you kind of understand the road you continuously need to journey on in order for those things to be released, in order for that part of your life to be more healthy in that way?
Absolutely. It's always, you know, nothing's black and white. Well, things can be black and white, but, you know, I think when it comes to sex and experimenting or evolving or just letting yourself go and being in a moment and experiencing something new. So yeah, for me, you know, I know who I am, I know what I like when it comes to sex, I know what I can give, I know what I can offer. But for me, it's about growing on that and being able to evolve and just be open to everything and anything that my partner wants to bring into the relationship. And I think the most important thing during sex and during any kind of relationship is communication. Is just being able to express, I like that, I don't like that, don't do that, you know, whatever the situation is, male, female, whatever it is, female, just being able to express how you feel, what you want, where you are, and showing vulnerability. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned is that, you know, for me, I class myself as a man, you know, he, him, however you want to call it, say it. There's nothing more powerful that I've learned through my journey with toxic masculinity and masculinity than a man who was being able to be vulnerable, who was able to cry, who was able to express their feelings and what they want and what they need and communicate, because that's all your partner wants. And I think if I don't do that with you and I push you away and I just, sex is what it is, and then we just go on our way and I don't express how I feel or what I like, it's going to get jumbled, it's going to get worse, it's not going to be a healthy sexual relationship. And I think that comes to relationships in general. If you and I can't just sit and speak about how I'm feeling, what you're feeling, communicate, be vulnerable, cry, hold each other, whatever the situation is, talk about whatever it is that's affecting us or what we're feeling, then the relationship's not going to move forward, the relationship's not going to grow. And sex is a very important part of any relationship. You know, I can be sexually attracted to you, but if I don't want to have sex with you, if you don't want to have sex with me, or sex is awkward, and we don't communicate it, we don't talk about it, we don't express it, again, it's going to die, and the relationship's going to die as well. So I think it's just a matter of, with literally anything when it comes to relationships, is just being open and vulnerable and communicate and not closing yourself off from trying something new or just being in the moment, having fun and enjoying it. You know, sex is pleasurable, sex is meant to be fun, sex is meant to be an enjoyable thing. So if you can't do that, then you're in the wrong place. It's not healthy.
I agree. I feel like the only thing that's sustainable is like truth, openness, and like respect, you know, that honesty. And without the conversation of what you're going through, how you're feeling, then you're not being completely honest. It's like the omission of information is still a lie in a way. So it's like you're not able to really differentiate the fact that you are not lying about who you are and how you feel and being upfront with that. I think that's probably maybe like the first time I thought about the omission of someone's self and expression, the equivalent of a lie. But that's, you know, a very powerful way to understand it, and like I guess could give you more ideas of the people who care about their integrity enough to do the work to get to themselves to the point of those conversations and that openness for those relationships. But with the journey of the relationship you have to sex and those things still being developed, as you mentioned, and the navigation that you still have to do through things that are not, like you said, not haunting you, but still present in different parts of your subconscious or your conscious, that does affect, maybe slightly, maybe subtly, but does affect your relationships now. How much time would you say you've been on, I guess, the health journey of that relationship with you and your sex life versus like what it was prior?
I first told someone in 2012. So it's been, let's say, 12 years, 11 years. But, the first year or two of that, so let's say about 10 years. The first year or two of that was really understanding who I am as a person and what I went through. So I didn't really have sex for quite a while after I came out about what happened to me, after I spoke about it for the first time, because I was just a mess. But, more than that, I was just trying to work out who I was as a person, as a human being, after what I'd been through, after the trauma, after, trying to understand shame, trying to understand toxic masculinity, trying to understand, the Stockholm syndrome and imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, and trying to get through that. So once I was able to grasp that and get my head around that and understand all of those other elements of my life and who I was, that just kind of bled into my sexuality and understanding my sexuality and what I'd been through and how I feel about sex and where I am. And, I think with any form of trauma, people will say, just get over it. It happened 20 years ago. Just move forward. What the fuck are you still talking about it for? Just let it go, It's, it happened when you were 8 years old, But what people need to realize is that what happened to me, our trauma, all of us, no matter how big, how small, it's a part of us. It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of who we are, especially something so big like that. It's a part of me, and it's always going to be a part of me. It's not about just throwing it away and pretend it doesn't exist and trying to erase it. Exactly. It's about living with it, embracing it, and moving forward with it. It doesn't define me, but it's a part of my life and it's a part of who I am. That part of my sexuality, that part of my life, and the drugs and the sex and the selling my body for sex and all of that type of stuff, that's a chapter of who I was. And it's now about moving forward with it, growing with it, evolving with it. And even, when shit hits me, when I get triggered, when I feel things, again, it's not about, this is during sex or in sex or after sex or just in my everyday life. It's not about throwing it away again and pretend it doesn't exist, trying to erase it. It's about sitting in it, seeing where it hits me on my body, seeing what it does to me, learning from it, and then, again, moving forward with it, evolving myself and educating myself. So when that hits me again, because it is going to come back and hit me again, so that's why if I just throw it away, it's going to come back and hit me twice as hard. But if I sit in it after sex or during sex and I don't like something or something triggers me or whatever the situation is, it's about sitting in it, feeling it, understanding what it does to me in my body and how it makes me feel and how it affects my relationship toward my partner. Then I can move forward with it so that when it does come again, like I said, I'm going to understand it. I'm going to be able to handle it and embrace it and talk and have a healthy relationship or have a healthy conversation with you about that situation.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things. With trauma, you can assume trauma, but it doesn't necessarily mean that when you have a traumatic experience, you will assume trauma. So that's one. And I think that some people, they probably categorize the assumption of trauma versus like the fact that someone has had a traumatic experience. Something can happen and you cannot hold on to it. But if it's something that you have held on to, there needs to be some type of acceptance of that thing. And like you said, it's not to make it your life, it's not to make it your identity, but it is to accept the reality that it has happened. And that is just, responsibility and accountability, honestly. And those things can happen whether or not what has happened was inflicted or, chosen. So yeah, those things need to be the case in order for that to grow.
Own your shit. And that was a big part of my healing journey, was owning the good, the bad, the ugly, owning everything I'd done. Because once I was able to own it and accept it, I was able to move forward with it. If I just threw it away and pretend I didn't do it, or pretend it didn't exist, or you know, gaslight or narcissistic behavior because you don't own it and you always blame them, and I didn't do that, that was you, you're the crazy one, and that makes you start thinking, did I really do that, did I not do that? But once I was able to own my shit and what I'd done and where I'd been and find forgiveness for myself, then I was able to move forward with parts of my life when it comes to sexuality and sex and things that I weren't comfortable with, or things that I thought weren't right, or I shouldn't be doing this because it's not the norm. That allowed me to move forward with that. And once I found forgiveness for myself, of course I had to try and find forgiveness for this person, because otherwise the anger and the hatred are just going to sit and build and build and build. And I'm only human. I'm never going to forgive him, but I need to find some form of it in order to do that. And once I did that, then everything in my life, relationship with people, just my sexuality, my everyday understanding of who I am became a lot clearer. That heaviness was lifted off my shoulders, and I felt a lot more comfortable in my sexuality, whether it was with a man, whether it was with a woman, whether it was with whoever it was, and no judgment.
Yeah, it is downplayed how much of a superpower it is, because full acceptance of yourself is an unwavering confidence in who you are. There's nothing someone can hold against you if you know who you are.
Absolutely.
Nothing anyone can say to you, nothing anyone can make you feel shame about. It's like yelling out certain things out loud, oh, I wear pink boots. You wear pink boots? Yeah, I said I wear pink boots. I like pink boots, and I mentioned it already. There's nothing you can tell me that I haven't already told you. So owning those parts of yourself and being able to tell those parts of yourself is also being able to understand, like you said, all of who you are, and knowing that it doesn't have to become the stronghold or the forefront or the face or the cover of your identity, but it's embedded in your story and experience.
And it also kind of comes, a lot of my stuff is out there. I've got a memoir, I did a TED Talk, I just finished filming a documentary about my story, and my memoir's been turned into a movie, but I've done a lot of talks, put a lot of stuff online, Instagram, and on the net. I've had a lot of trolls, or a lot of people reach out to me, and what I've realized is a lot of these people who are reaching out to me, telling me to shut up, telling me to be quiet, in not so nice terms, and telling me that I deserve to be raped, or that I deserve this, I deserve that. These are people who, most of them, what I've realized, have been abused themselves, have been raped themselves. Majority of them were men, but they have never spoken about it. They have never dealt with their trauma or their past. So they see me talking about it in a healthy way, and they're like, well, how the fuck can you do it? Shut the fuck up. Because if I'm not allowed to talk about it, or if I can't talk about it, if I don't know how to talk about it, then you're not allowed to talk about it. So a lot of my trolls and a lot of my haters are a result of that. And I think it just goes to show just how much we need to heal ourselves and go on this journey. And we live in our little bubble of I've got the perfect job, perfect wife, perfect partner, whatever it is. I make this much money. But if they really go in and do the work on themselves, they're going to realize just how miserable they are and how much they hate themselves, or whatever they haven't worked on themselves from the past. So they don't want to do that, because that little bubble of theirs is going to burst. So they just want to live in this same life and just bring everyone else down because it makes them feel better. But yeah, we've gotten off the topic of sex, so I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, it just always goes back down to sex in general. If you're not people don't realize that everything about your life, whether it's your social life or your professional life, is only going to either exponentially grow, be stagnant, or be the only thing that carries you, which will never fully carry you into optimal happiness if you shun parts of yourself that is your sex. You can only have this open, growing, positive life of your full self if you express your sex self. So if anything is repressed, if anything is traumatized, if anything is negative, you're never going to fully be who you could be, because everything that you are in that realm are the things that haunt you, not the things that are you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I've actually had a conversation on Sex Talk with a man who also offered to be on the show, and I didn't realize he had not done that work. And so the conversation was terrible, but
well, I just want to fuck with it. I just like it.
But it was interesting and eye-opening, because some of the questions that I asked were triggering for him, which I didn't know, because I assumed that if you asked me to talk on this show, you're able to have this conversation.
Yeah.
So about like doing the work and what it does for your life, and if you don't have that clarity and that expression of yourself in your sex life, you just don't have a full life.
You said it so fucking clearly, because if we don't do the work on ourselves, if we don't understand who we are, if we're not healthy, and if we don't love ourselves, how can we love anyone else? And our sex life, everything in our life is just going to be muddled and not clear, and we don't know who we are. And I want to have sex with men, but I'm not allowed because of what people are going to think, or I'm into women, or I like trans, or I like whatever the fucking thing is that you're into. Just embrace it and do it and live it, and you've got one fucking life. Enjoy it, because you could be dead tomorrow, and if you want to sleep with someone, if you want to love someone, if you want to experiment, if you want to live, just live and be in it, and but I think, again, you said it, you just need to have that healthy perspective on yourself and know who you are, so that if you do it, you don't spiral, you don't go down that dark road, you don't think, you don't get the shame and feel like you don't deserve and act out or do something or hurt yourself or hurt someone else. So I think once you are of that healthy mind, healthy body, your sex life is going to grow exponentially. Your every aspect of your life is going to grow. And like you said, or like we've both said, we all love sex, we all want sex. Why not make it healthy? Why not make it fun? Why not make it enjoyable? Why not just sleep with whoever the hell you want to sleep with, and embrace it, and just find your tribe, find what you like, find the love of your life, and be in that moment, because that moment could just disappear, and you may never get it back. So that's kind of where I am now with my life sexually. If I just want to be in it and do it, and I like you, and I want to experiment, and I want to try, and I want to have fun, and I want to, why not? Because if we don't, I might regret it forever. You might be the love of my life. This could be just something extraordinary. And if we don't go there, if we don't feel it, if we don't embrace it, if we don't just live it and live in that moment, then we may never ever get that moment back.
Yeah, I mean, I hear people saying it all the time, but I just watched a very controversial interview with Cat Williams, and he repeated that if you really truly live your life like it is your last day, there's so many things that you will not miss out on doing. There's so much potential that you will fall into, just because in your mind you don't have another day, you don't have another shot, you don't have another time, this will not be extended, you don't get another chance. And I think that is, that's very powerful for living in a moment and being present. What would you say is the most important aspect of your sex life for you right now?
The most important aspect of my sex life right now? That's really fucking hard. I think it's just what we've spoken about, is just being in the moment and letting go of all ego, and letting go of all self-doubt, and if I want to be here with you, if I want to have sex with you, let's just fucking do it, and let's just embrace it, and let's come together and do it. So I think for me, it's just about being open, being honest and communicating. just being in that moment. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You can walk away from it, you can say thank you very much, whatever it was, and just walk away from it and learn from it. Know that you don't like it, and you don't have to do it again, and you can just move on to someone else or something else or whatever it is that you enjoy. Just not really saying no to anything, and just unless it's something that you know you don't want or you don't like, or
saying
like
yes to pleasure.
Saying yes to the pleasure of it all, and not kicking yourself in the guts when it's done and bringing yourself down and hating yourself for it and hating that person for it. I think that's the most important thing, or that's the most important thing in my sex life now. I shouldn't say for others, but for me, it's just about living in the moment and embracing everything that comes to me, whether I want to do it, whether I don't have to do it, but just being in it and you know what, thank you very much, but no, or fuck yes, let's do this. That's I think is for me, because that's going to give me a healthy mind and healthy, emotions and not hate myself or not regret or not miss out on something that could be really fucking pleasurable or really enjoyable or just a big learning curve in my life, or growing and evolving and understanding more about who I am and what I want and what I find pleasurable and the kind of people that I'm attracted to.
One of my friends talks about I forgot my thought. Earlier, I'm like, I was going to say something, I forgot what I was going to say. Earlier you mentioned having something purely physical as opposed to something emotional, depending on the partners that you would engage with or the people you would engage with. How would you describe, I guess, your journey through like sensuality and intimacy? And like what things about sensuality and intimacy do you really love to do with someone who you are close with?
That's as much as my sex life, and I talk the actual act of sex, has been interesting and difficult, so is intimacy, because I never wanted intimacy. I didn't. As much as I said sex with men was just a physical side of it, but then sex with women, this is before coming out, before talking about it, was yes, I know I want to be with you and kiss you and hold you, but as soon as the act was done, I needed to get out of there, or I couldn't hold you, I couldn't touch you again because of the shame that came over me, the self-sabotage and the I don't deserve came over me, because my whole life that was ingrained in me as a child. You don't deserve love, you don't deserve happiness, this is what you deserve to be hurt, you deserve to be abused, you deserve to be sexually abused, whatever the situation was, beaten up, whatever it was. So I had a very difficult time being intimate with people. Yes, I would love you before the act and touch you and all of that stuff and tell you what you wanted to hear, but then as soon as it was done, I just needed to run out of there and get away. But after coming out, after talking about my past, after being able to understand what I went through and this journey and this journey of healing and letting go and finding peace and forgiveness and all that type of stuff, sex is a lot more intimate now. There's a lot more of a connection. I want to be with you, I want to embrace you, I want us to become one. And I want to touch you, I want to just, your body, I want to kiss you, I want to, just love you. For me, there is nothing more intimate and there's nothing more sexy or, beautiful or connecting than just sitting on the couch and holding my hand. That's it. Because I think there could be so much love in that and so much connection in that, but just anything, just a simple touch is so powerful. And I think it lets your partner know how you feel or where you're at with them and where you're at with yourself and how comfortable you are with yourself. Because if we sit on the couch and I can't touch you and I just
just want to fuck you and I just want that act of it, there's no intimacy, there's no real closeness, it's just sex. But if I can sit on the couch and if we're watching a movie or whatever, even if we're just sitting and having some dinner, and I can just reach over and just hold your hand or touch you or just something so gentle and slow, and I think that makes, if someone did that to me or if I do that to you, and this is me and how I feel, obviously it's not everyone, it makes me feel, or it lets me know, all right, we're connected here. We understand each other, we get each other. We don't need to talk, we don't need to act, we don't need to do shit to impress you or to stroke my ego or to stroke your ego. As the saying goes, it's the little things that count, and it's the fucking little things that count, absolutely. Just doing that or just holding you in bed or wherever we are, and just having your head rest on my chest or just to rub your back or whatever the situation is. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be touching you. Sorry. Just slap me whenever you want.
Soft signs of affection.
But absolutely, that is so fucking important to me, so powerful. And it has such a huge expression of love. More than just the act of sex, because sex is sex and we can just fuck and we can do all that shit, but if it's not done right, if foreplay, no foreplay, whatever the situation is, and I think that is foreplay, just holding your hand or touching you, or so much more than what foreplay could be. That's it for me.
Yeah, so there's this term that a lot of I guess like professionals and sex or sexologists use, which is the opposite of intercourse being outer course, and I feel like that is kind of in the realm of outer course, and people describe it as something that is completely separate from the idea of what you can imagine sex to be, and it's completely connected to connection. It's about you being in engagement with your partner or your person in many different ways. You can be out in dinner and have outer course. You can have conversation and have outer course. You can be on a long stroll and have outer course. But it's the idea that expands past foreplay that allows you to become so comfortable with your partner that you want to show and give love, and you want to eventually become more intimate in the way of intercourse. I think that was a very groundbreaking for me to learn and to hear. I think that being a sensual person and considering myself a sensual muse, a lot of work that I do is through sensuality in particular. I also, love sex. I'm a sexual person, but it's not something that I do all the time, and it's so far and few in between, and I'm so picky with it that it allows other aspects of myself to showcase, sensuality. I think that it creates an expression and a channel for sexual energy as well. I think that it allows, like you said, allows care, allows a show of love, allows a show of connection. And I think that it's also healing for you in particular, just because it really is the antithesis to all that you had been traumatically learning, your childhood. It is the affirmation and the confirmation of what you need, what you deserve, and what you should have in your life. And
growth, finding peace with myself and finding peace with others, and I think growth more so in education and just being able to know that, okay, I was here, I was stuck, and I was stuck in this moment for a very long time, and doing what I was doing to cope, but now I'm here, and just a simple act of touch or just saying something to someone, affirmation, like you said, is so much more powerful. It's so much more of a turn on than sometimes the act of foreplay is just being able to touch you, or I get more hard on than that than the act of foreplay. And I've spoken to women, not just who I've been with, but friends of mine who say just a simple act will get a woman more wet and more aroused than the act of foreplay. So I think, just being able to connect at that level if you can connect at that level, just imagine how much more powerful and how much more intimate, how much more sexy and arousing sex is actually going to be.
Mm-hmm. I think that these acts of sensuality are inherently, which I don't know if I'm just now realizing this, I think they're inherently rooted in love. So I think that there is an aspect of showing care and nurturing that coincides with respect and like helping the autonomy of someone else and the flourishing of someone's soul, which is like the description that I use for love. So it can only allow healing to happen because it is rooted in what heals. Mm-hmm. It's rooted in what, flourishes and what grows and what, creates the best version of yourself. The best version of yourself is rooted in love and nothing else. Yeah. So if it strays from that, if it's separate from that, if it doesn't look like that, then it's not, the best version, and it can't be, you in totality, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Healthy mind, healthy body equals healthy sex, healthy communication. And that's what we're all striving for, isn't it? That's what we all want. We want to be in a loving or in a healthy relationship where we can communicate, we can show vulnerability, we can show intimacy in sex, in life, in just our everyday aspects of our life. Mm-hmm. And if we can do that, obviously everything is going to be so much more elevated and so much more comfortable and so much more free. Mm-hmm. To do what we want to do in sex and all of that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see where we at with it. Ooh. Close to the end, but I have more questions. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not on the lines of love, but I guess this is all love. What's your zodiac sign?
I'm Aquarius.
And have you ever heard of any misconceptions or felt like anyone has had misconceptions about you based on that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that?
I don't understand the whole astrology thing. I'm not in it. Mm-hmm. But I've had people say, oh, we can't be good partners, or we can't fuck, or we can't this because you're an Aquarius and I'm a Virgo or a Libra. So I don't understand it. Okay. I'm not in it. I don't. But people have said that.
That's interesting.
And sometimes, we'll have sex and it was bad, or sometimes we'll have sex and it was amazing. And I don't know. I think it is, astrology is what it is. You can believe it or not believe it. I think it's just on people. If we're connected, if we're fucking into it, if we're wanting to do this and open and, be able to be affectionate and touch and kiss and be comfortable with it all, does it really matter what sign you are? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know the answer.
Do you?
I believe.
You're the expert on this.
I definitely could know a lot more about zodiac signs than I don't. I know more than the average person.
So what are you?
I'm a Pisces.
Alright, so Aquarius and Pisces, are we a good match?
I believe that we are. I think that the way that my best friend describes it is kind of like Pisces are these aloof, ethereal, kind of like otherworldly aliens, and then the Aquarius is like the space cadet. So we kind of connect because we're all out there.
All right. Well, let's give it a go. We'll let you know next week what's going on.
I think that the personality of generally the personality of Aquarius, Sun's core characteristics are just really in depth with conversation. They can be connected to the occult or different ways of thinking, or just I think thinking out of the box is kind of a quintessential Aquarius trait.
Yeah.
And so,
artistic and type stuff.
So I think that in that way, connecting with people who are along those lines, or maybe practices those things, or probably has those core characteristics within themselves, are also things that allow those two signs to connect. And so I can say yes. I definitely get along with a lot of Aquarius. I have a lot of Aquarius placement friends, or a lot of Aquarius sun sign friends. So
yeah, you're all right. I can.
I
can talk to you.
In connection to that, has anyone ever assumed anything of you and your sexuality based on your personality or maybe the way that you have come off in social settings? Do people like assume things of you because of those things, or do you think that?
What's interesting, and I think this kind of relates. You know, I when I used to go on dates, or when I would go on a date with someone, and obviously now with social media, people Google me and people can find out my story, and my story's out there. So I've been on dates with, you know, quite a few girls who are like, wow, you are fascinating and I want to know all about you and my history and my abuse. But then at the end of it, they're like, you're amazing, but I can't date you because of what I've been through. People tell me that I'm kind of mysterious because of what I've been through and want to learn more about that. But then I think, you know, there's still a very big stigma surrounding sexual abuse and male sexual abuse even more so. So I think because I am so active in it and talk about it, and you know, a lot of shit I do is surrounding that now, people find me interesting and fascinating and wow, you're so open and you're all of that stuff, but they don't want to get close. You know, I've had a woman or two when I go on a date saying, I couldn't be with you because I wouldn't trust you with my kids, or I wouldn't want you to father my kids because you may abuse our kids. So there's still, you know, that much, you know, a lot of stigma and surrounding it. So my past has had a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's dictated how people feel about me and think about me. But, you know, as my ex said, and some other people say, I want to know you for who you are today, not for your past. Because your past is your past, it's not who you are today. And who I am today is completely different from who I am then. But, you know, these women who do say these things, and these people who do say these things, that you're fascinating, you're amazing, all of that, but I don't want to know you or I can't be with you, that's their own insecurities. They're battling their own insecurities, they're battling their own issues, their own trauma, their own whatever it is that they're going through, but they can easily just put it onto me. So yeah, it who I am today has dictated a lot of how people feel about me and my relationships and sexuality, and people automatically assume I'm gay or you're bi or you're this or that. And you know, I don't want to label anything. Am I bi? Maybe I am because I did sleep with men or whatever the situation is. But I don't need to label it. I am who I am, and I know what I want, and I know what I bring, and I know my worth. I think that's very important in a relationship, is know your worth. Know what you bring, know what you can offer, and if you don't want to be a part of that, if you don't want to feel my love or be a part of that relationship or grow with me, then that's on you. Because there is going to be someone out there who will want to be a part of that. Relationships are hard, but they should be fucking easy. If we can communicate, if we're open, if we're understanding, if we're able to just be. And I'm guilty of it as well. I'm the first one to admit it. I'm not perfect, and no one is perfect, and I think that's what we need to realise, is we're always looking for the perfect partner. But there's no one out there who is perfect. And then there's a lot of us in relationships, and I'm not saying me because I do, a lot of us don't want to compromise, or don't want to give, or we try and change the other person to be what we want them to be. But you can't do that because resentment's going to come in and anger or whatever, or hatred or whatever the situation is, and the relationship's soon going to fall apart. And when it comes to sex as well, what I like may not be what you like, or what you like is different. And I think that's where we need to compromise, we need to experiment, we need to just embrace it and take it on, because if I love you, if I want to be with you, if I want to do this with you, then let's fucking do it, and I'll do it to please you, or whatever the situation is. And you may come to realise that you actually do like it, or you do want that, or you do feel that, or whatever it is. So I think it's just about embracing it and yeah, did that answer that question?
You did. You answered it. Yeah. Speaking about things that we like versus don't like, do you feel like you have developed any like kinks or fetishes or different things that you specifically?
See, I think this should be a quick question thing, and you just pull them out. You just say them, and I say yes, no, yes, no.
Okay. Dang, what's at the list? Bondage.
No.
Spanking.
Sometimes.
Choking.
No.
Power play.
Could be fun. Yeah.
What else? Foot fetish.
Depending on feet. depending on the person. Yes, I have been with girls who have just got beautiful feet, and I'm not going to stick their toes in my mouth and suck on their feet.
Oh, okay.
Is that a foot fetish? And I have done that, and sometimes it's very fucking sexy and it's a turn on, and it's I think it depends on, with everything you've just said to me, depends on the partner, depends on the situation. Because if we're in it and we're just fucking into it, and you stick your toes in my mouth, fuck it, why not? Or you want me to spank you, fuck it, why not? Or choke you. If it's right for that time and that place, and we're both into it, sure, absolutely.
Exhibitionism.
Been there, done that, yeah.
Voyeurism.
Yeah.
Like it's public. Well, I know that you used to go to public spaces for like sex clubs and things and stuff like that.
Also to watch and also to do. So both.
And you're still into those things as well?
Yeah, could be.
Cool. Are you into sharing partners, like cuckolding? And allowing another partner to have sex? Or are you watching another partner to have sex with someone else?
I've done it. I used to do it in my past life, if I can say that. But since becoming more, I guess, healthy with myself and who I am and understanding, most of my partners haven't been into that or haven't wanted that or done that. So I don't know. I think, again, it just depends on who I'm with and the situation. And I'm sober now, so that plays into it a lot. Obviously a lot of the sex I used to have was whether sometimes I'd be fucked up or I'd be drunk or a lot of drugs. So that obviously expands the mind and you're open to a lot more, and I'm still open to a lot more. But now that I don't do that, things have changed.
What about like age play?
What do you mean by that?
Like a partner or you regressing to a certain age, and then another person being of a certain age.
I don't think I would enjoy if I had to regress to a certain age or pretend to be a different age. No. I don't know. If you wanted to do it and act like a young kid or something like that, no.
If you wanted to, absolutely not. What about pet play? Someone assuming the role of a pet, acting like a kitty or a dog.
No. That would just be too fucking weird. What the fuck are you doing? I don't want to fuck a dog. If I want to fuck a dog, I'll go and fuck a dog.
What's interesting is that sometimes some of these things are non-sexual as well.
So if I was with you and you would just dress up as a cat and just act like a cat all day.
Yeah, some people do that.
You're like, see, that just doesn't turn me on, but I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And each to their own, and I don't mean to be rude or an asshole, or I'm like, fucking. There was actually, this morning, I don't know where it was, my friend sent it to me. This guy was a school teacher, and he had to go and front the board somewhere in the Midwest, and he went as a rat. He had a rat costume because he goes, I'm a rat person now, or I want to be known as a rat. And he goes, half of the kids in my class are wanting to be rats now too. And it's just, people are like, the board are like, but what the fuck are you doing? So that just doesn't do anything for me. And I've seen a lot of those shows, or there's been those documentaries where people will live in cages and dress up as a dog and eat out of dog bowls, and each to their own. Whatever gets you off, but that doesn't get me off.
Okay. What about Well, you said power play, so I guess like assuming the role of dominant or submissive, is there any one that you like more? Do you consider yourself more of a switch? Can you go back and forth?
I can go back and forth, again, depending on the person. Sometimes I need to be careful with it with my past. Sometimes I like to be submissive because of what I've been through in my past and let them dominate, but then sometimes I like to do it. But I think as well, as long as it's all done healthy, in a healthy way. Again, I think, as I said, I'm pretty much open to everything and anything except for fucking pet play. As long as we communicate, as long as it's healthy, and as long as we're in the moment, it's just fucking hot and sexy, and let's do it. And sure, if that's what you want, I'll do it. And if I like it, yeah.
Okay, interesting. There's so many. I'm like thinking of the dictionary.
Oh,
of
there's
things.
thousands of them.
Literally, so long.
There's thousands. So
I do you consider yourself a sadist or a masochist?
I think both. I could go both. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah.
Sadism is someone who likes to inflict. Masochist is someone who likes to assume pain.
Again, I think it just depends on the situation, depends on the partner. I know it's probably a lot of that back in the day when I was in that space. I'm just thinking of some of the stuff I used to do. Jesus. You know, we would. Oh, gee, no, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Or should I? Or can I?
You can.
Like, we'd be fucked up, and my partner would say, "I need to pee," so I'm like, "Just pee on me," or stuff like that.
I was going to ask about that, but then I was like, because water sports which is what they call it in kink and fetish, is that, you know, it's like playing with pee, for example. They use the acronym SCAT for, you know, feces, or people like to play with poop or whatever. But yeah, is that something that you had only done at the time, or does it also depend on the partner for you?
It was only at the time. You know, it was back in the day, we would shove drugs up our ass and blow cocaine up our ass and all of that shit, because it hits the blood harder and quicker and faster, and it has a lot more of an effect, and then the sex is just crazy and ridiculous, and poppers and stuff like that, and so I was open to anything and everything back in the day, and it was amazing and a lot of fun, and I don't regret anything I've done. I don't regret, because, you know, it's brought me to where I am today in the world. It's made me who I am today, and, you know, yes, I've done a lot of bad things in my life. I've hurt a lot of people. If I could change it, I would, but I can't, so I need to live with it and just own it. So I own the things I've done, I've owned the hurt, I've owned the good things, and again, it's given me such a healthy perspective on life, on relationships, on who I am, on what I want and what I like. And, you know, the older you get, obviously you're more set in your way, and you know what you like and what you want. But everything I've been through in my life and everything I've been through in my past has allowed me to embrace what's coming to me in the future and where I am today, and just to kind of live in the moment and live with no regrets and just be in it, and if I like it, go for it, enjoy it. If I don't like it, it's okay to walk away from it as well, and feel okay about it. So, you know, I think I have a healthy perspective when it comes to sex now because of what I've been through. For a long time, it wasn't healthy, and, you know, like I said, I was selling my body for sex. I was being abused and letting these men abuse me and beat me up and bash me and all of that stuff, because I needed that. That was all I knew. That was how I got my power. That was my fuck you to the world. Speaking about my past, 12 years ago, I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about life, and I've learned a lot about ego and shame and toxic masculinity and all of that stuff that really affects men, I think, more so than women. And I think all our partner wants from us is to be healthy, to communicate, to be vulnerable, to, you know,
accept and to own when we are wrong and we've done something, and not just blame the other person. Because if I make myself healthy, if I clean myself up, it's not just myself. It's a trickle down effect. It's going to be my partner, it's my children, whatever it is, or my work environment, my family. So I'm not just making me healthy, I'm making the hundreds or the thousands of people around me healthy. And again, it all comes back to healthy mind, healthy body, healthy sexuality. Because I think there still is a big stigma surrounding sexuality and men, and you probably know better than me, but I'm sure there's huge statistics of closeted men who will never come out, but having affairs or sleeping around on their wives with men, and I know it because I have gay friends who half of the people they sleep with are straight married men or straight guys with girlfriends. But these boys will never come out about it because I'm straight and I have to be straight and I have to be married and I have to have kids, and that's just the norm, or religion or race, whatever the fucking situation is, the social norms. So if we can work around that, if we can understand it, if we can educate ourselves more on that and evolve ourselves more through that, our sex life is going to be so much freer and better and bigger. But unfortunately and sadly, I don't think it's ever going to fucking happen, or it's not going to happen for a long time.
Yeah.
It is getting better, obviously, and we are improving as a human race or as a community of people, but there's still such a...
Yeah, it's so nuanced. It's one of those things that if you think about all of the individual cases, you're hopeless. But if you think about the grand scheme of like media and the progression of what is politically correct and how people have shifted mindset or conversation or representation about certain things, you're hopeful. So it's just a matter of things moving, and the macro would always move faster or show up differently or progress than the micro. It's just in the details of things, it's just harder to change. But overall, I think that people are definitely opening up and growing, and especially with it being the age of conversation, the age of truth. I think that there's a lot of things that are going to be uncovered for a lot of people. But yeah, I think that individually it's easy to be like, what's going on? No one's doing anything differently. But then when you think about the grand scheme of things, I think it's easy also to be like, okay, things are moving right along in the right direction.
And I've felt that firsthand with my story and what I'm doing and coming out and going to people in the media and speaking to people in the media. Not too long ago, 95% of the media would say to me, if you're a woman, we would talk to you, but because you're a man, we're not going to talk to you because it's male sexual abuse. But now, late 2023, coming into 24, it's still happening a little, but it's not so much anymore. So people are wanting to talk more about the whole, male sexual abuse or sexual abuse. And I think the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing really opened that up and stuff. And it's going to be continuous because I think a day or two ago they released a lot more names and documents and stuff. So, and it all comes down to power and money and stuff like that. And it's how the world rolls around money and power, the wars and religion and all of that stuff, and sex. It's all about power too sometimes.
Wow. We have gotten our hour done. Yes, the world definitely revolves around that, but what heals it all is love, and that's what we'll end with.
And sex.
Love and sex.
Yes, absolutely.
Loving sex.
There you go.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
fun.
you for the conversation. Yeah, it always breezes by. You're just like, what time is it? Oh, it's time.
Yeah.
So please let the people know anything that you're working on, any way that they can find you, what they can tune into, the things that are going to be released.
Sure. Probably my Instagram is the best to follow me on just Nathan Spiteri. I just had a documentary We just had our first screening for the documentary 2 days ago. So now that's doing the circuit, and now we are in talks for distribution as well, which is very exciting. My TED Talk was just released, so get on there and listen to my TED Talk. And my memoir, Toy Cars, you can get it on all the bookstores and Amazon and Booktopia and all of that stuff. So follow me, follow my journey, and any questions or anything else, just reach out on Instagram and I'll get back to you guys. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
And with that,